We start in Afghanistan. The Taliban are due to form a government within days. In an interview with CCTV, Ahmadullah Wasik, deputy head of the Taliban Cultural Commission, says the Taliban have concluded a meeting on the formation of a new government. Take a listen.
The Taliban have concluded the meeting on the formation of the new Afghan government. The names of the members of the new government will be announced in 2 to 3 days. The preparations for the announcement on the formation of the new government are underway in an orderly manner. It will be attended by domestic and foreign guests.
For more on the situation in Afghanistan, let's cross live to our correspondent Abdul Hadi Dariz in Kabul. Abdul, in a matter of days, those are the words from the Taliban. But the big question is, why the delay?
You know that there have been rumors and there have been sources who are saying regularly that the government is going to be announced on very soon. It was expected yesterday that the government will be formed, a new cabinet in the system, and the type of government will be announced on Friday. Especially the time after Friday prayer was something which was expected. But early in the morning yesterday, our source have confirmed that it is impossible for today. I mean yesterday on Friday. Some sources say that the government will be announced before 4th of September. Today we are on the edge of 4th September, and there is a source telling CGTN that even today the government is not going to be announced. One of the major problems that could lead to this, that they don't want a hurry, and they want a government which shall be inclusive of everyone. Every Afghan want to see their face in the new government. Also, the resistance in Panjshir Valley can be the reason behind not announcing the new government. So there are several reasons. The latest information we got from some Taliban sources, and also due to their words, due to their interviews and information they shared with some other media, it is said that it is going to be announced very soon in a span of a couple of days. But still, there isn't any confirmed source regarding a specific date or time. Yesterday, it is said whenever the announcement is closed, the entire media, both national and international media, will be part of that ceremony, and a grand ceremony will be held for that.
Abdul, since you mentioned Panjshir Valley, do we have any concrete source of information regarding the real situation there? Because in recent days we've seen so many conflicting and confusing reports coming out of that key point of resistance to the Taliban.
Honestly, there is even a confusion between the Taliban staff as well, Taliban members as well. Last night, Kabul city, the capital of Afghanistan, in all major cities of the country have witnessed some heavy firings in the city. There were some firings through the air, and when it was asked from them, what is the reason behind this? Because people were really worried about that. Everywhere there was firing through the air, towards the air, and there were mostly, when we got the information, we contacted some people regarding that. It was said that the Panjshir Valley have been conquered, and the war has ended right there. But it was a matter of an hour or about 50 minutes that later on, the former vice president, Mr. Amrullah Saleh, he has given a video message on Twitter that he is right there. There were also rumors that Saleh and the son of the former commander, Mr. Ahmad Shah Massoud, his son Ahmad Massoud, the leaders of that resistance, they fled towards Tajikistan. But they have rejected all this. Amrullah Saleh, in his videotape, has rejected all those information. He says the resistance is alive and he hasn't fled anywhere. The latest concrete information from our sources near Panjshir Valley is that the Taliban have entered the Man Valley. The two of the districts of Panjshir province. Panjshir Valley is also a province in the geographical structure of Afghanistan. So two of the districts, one from Andarab area of Baghlan province, there is a district called Paryan that is conquered by Taliban, that is captured by Taliban, and so is another district called Shutal. So this is concrete information that at least these two districts are taken and captured by Taliban. But the resistance is still alive, and the people of Panjshir and the resistance group is still right there, and the Panjshir Valley and Panjshir province is not fully conquered.
And Abdul, let's turn to another development in Afghanistan, the resumption of civil aviation. Is it a full resumption or just several lines?
As per sources and as per the interviews, the Taliban high-ranked officials such as Zabihullah Mujahid said yesterday that the aviation sector is now active. The radar is activated with the support of technical team from Qatar and Turkey. We witnessed a flight from Qatar to Kabul, where the technical staff were brought into Kabul to activate the systems right here at Hamid Karzai International Airport, and so are to make it operational as well. Also yesterday, we witnessed a plane bringing some humanitarian assistance from the United Arab Emirates, where they have brought in some commodities and some medicine for the support for helping Afghan people in need, and 6 tons of those medicines and also commodities, some food materials were brought to Afghanistan. So it is a good development. It was planned that yesterday it was planned that there will be a domestic flight from Kabul towards Mazar-e-Sharif, one of the main cities in northern Afghanistan, but that did not happen. Still, some work, as per sources, still needs to be done to make the airport fully operational. It is hopeful because some Chinese support right there. Also, the Dutch government also announced that they are ready to provide a funding of 1 million euros to for making Kabul airport re-operational. So support from different countries. The wires for support have come from different countries already, and it is most probably it is going to be re-operational in a day or a couple of days. But up to now, there hasn't been any commercial flight from here. But those 2 flights, one from Qatar and the other from the United Arab Emirates, gives a hope that it is going towards a positive side.
Thank you very much, our correspondent Abdul Hadi Dariz in Kabul. Staying with the coverage, it's been nearly 3 weeks since the Taliban took over. Some Afghans say prices and businesses have yet to recover, but for now, the country's capital is generally considered calm.
Everything is fine, business is good, and trade continues. There is no problem at all.
The situation is calm. There are no thieves, but no jobs either. Business is slumping. There is no way to make money. I only make 500 or 600 Afghanis a day, but now a bag of flour costs 2,100 Afghanis.
Some hospitals in Afghanistan say they've seen a drop in crime victims over the past few weeks. Many facilities have continued operating, and ensuring people they have enough medical supplies. The Taliban say healthcare services will be a priority once a new government is in place. Abdul Hadi Dariz reports.
A number of public and private hospitals in Kabul say there's been minimal disruption to their services since the Taliban took over. Medical workers, both male and female, appear to be carrying out duties without restrictions. Wahid Majroor was the acting health minister in the previous administration. He has resumed work under an oversight commission appointed by the Taliban. One patient at the Jamhuriyat Specialization Hospital shares his thoughts.
Doctors are doing their best here. I don't have any issues regarding medicine or medical support, and doctors are really working hard at tending to patients.
The Jamhuriyat Hospital is one of the major government-run facilities that continued operating amid the Taliban takeover. It's a 350-bed hospital with some 650 personnel. They tell me that their medical supplies are enough to last for the next 6 months.
All wings are operational, from the emergency ward to the X-ray department, as well as the diagnostics lab. The hospital has 9 departments for surgery, internal medicine, nephrology, hematology, neurosurgery, ENT, and urology.
Public hospitals like this are not dependent on foreign aid, but they rely on local contractors to supply food, gas, and cleaning services. Some contractors say they have had trouble providing such services due to limited cash supplies in banks. But the Jamhuriyat Hospital says it's getting by. There are critical patients from all over Afghanistan in its emergency ward. Before the Taliban took over, the hospital estimates receiving up to 30 war and crime victims on a daily basis. It says that has decreased to 1 to 2 victims per day with an improvement to the security situation.
During the political change in the country, the healthcare system, especially our hospital, kept providing services without any delay. Critical patients were provided 24-hour service. But before the change in the political system, there was a huge number of patients affected by the war.
Other essential sectors say they are delivering services as best as they can. But they say a fully functioning government will be key to helping ensure that their work flow more smoothly and efficiently. Abdul Hadi Dariz, CGTN, Kabul.
Some countries are calling for a peaceful means to solve the conflict between the Taliban and the resistance fighters in Panjshir Valley. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said he hopes the confrontations will give way to negotiations. Iran urged all sides in Afghanistan to exercise restraint and avoid violence. A spokesperson said Afghanistan is tired of years of occupation, war and violence. He believes lasting peace can only be achieved through genuine intra-Afghan talks without the presence and interference of foreign countries. Meanwhile, Qatar hopes to see the establishment of humanitarian corridors at Afghan airports within 48 hours. The European Union has internally agreed to re-establish a joint presence in Kabul to ensure EU nationals, as well as Afghans considered at risk, can leave Afghanistan safely. EU's foreign policy chief Joseph Borrell told the media on Friday about this, but he said the task will depend on whether security conditions are met for talks with the new government in Afghanistan. At an earlier press conference, Borrell said the bloc was ready to engage, but the Taliban must respect human rights and not let Afghanistan become a base for terrorism. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres will travel to Geneva in mid-September for talks on aid to Afghanistan. His spokesperson said the discussion will advocate for an increase in funding aid to maintain humanitarian operations. The meeting will also call for full and unimpeded humanitarian access to make sure Afghan people can continue to get the essential services they need. The spokesperson added the rights of women are an essential part of Afghanistan's future stability. Now, for more insight into the fast-developing situation in Afghanistan, let's cross live to Professor Hamza Momen Hakimi from Salam University in Kabul. Thank you very much for joining us, Professor. So, as we just heard from our correspondent in Kabul, there's obviously been a delay to the announcement of this new government. How important is the issue of Panjshir Valley and Massoud family in this?
Good morning to you and the viewers around the world. Good day for everyone, and thank you for having me. Yes, as anticipated previously, Panjshir Valley has a very importance for Taliban, as their policy and their policy makers indicated many times that they are not going to leave any excuse for any party before forming the inclusive government, because for Taliban forming the government this time is very important, and they are the type of the statements that they are releasing, the types of dealing that they're dealing with the people during the negotiations, their talkings indicate clearly that this time when they want to form a government, they will not leave anyone behind, and they don't want to leave anyone with the excuse that they were not a part of the government, they were not included, or they were not being negotiated with or talked with. So that's why we were expecting the announcement of the government yesterday, Friday, but it was delayed once again. And at night time, we heard, I can say, confirmed reports that Taliban took over Panjshir. But now it's confirmed that Taliban has take over some districts of Panjshir, some strategic districts from Paryan, which is the north of Panjshir, and Shatul, which is the entrance to the west, to the south of Panjshir, and as well through the Khawak Pass and Hinj district, which is also a very in northwest of Panjshir, which is also a very strategic district. And there are confirmed reports that the Afghanistan electricity utility or electricity department is working now to restore the power to Panjshir. It was cut off days back. So all these indications indicate that Taliban took over Panjshir partially or fully, and that's why I think Taliban did not announce their government, because they wanted all the internal troubles and all the internal wounds closed, and then they will announce their government, which they say that their talks is finished and the negotiation is completed about their new government, which they call it inclusive, but no confirmed reports, no confirmed statements from Taliban leadership on its shape, on how it is going to be.
Professor, in our earlier discussions, you said Taliban believe in centralizing power, but you mentioned so many factors in your earlier remarks, and we know that there have been warlords, tribes, and so many other political elements in Afghanistan for decades. Do you think this time Taliban can sort it once for all?
I think the phenomenon of distribution of power or share of power in Afghanistan has been misused for the past 20 years under the so-called American democracy. There were islands of power created in Afghanistan. Once someone appointed as a governor in one of the provinces or a minister in one of the ministries, they dealt that ministry and that province as their personal property. And we have witnessed that. We had people in the north of Afghanistan, in the west, in the east of Afghanistan appointed as governors as a political deal. And they were appointed as members of the cabinet as a political deal. And then they thought that this is a share of their own personal or their family shares. They dealt with the public office like that. And that led to a huge amount of corruption in our government, and that led to destruction of the central government, if I am correct to use that word. Taliban will not do that. That will end. That era of distribution of power in such a way will end in Afghanistan. Taliban will not do that. the government is going to be centralized, because for the past 20 years it has been tried in Afghanistan to spread the ethnic problems and the ethnic clashes between the different ethnic groups of Afghanistan all around the Afghanistan, and it was the one of the legacies that we inherited from American existence in Afghanistan. If we are talking about any federal system of government, that will lead to more weakening of Afghanistan's government and Afghanistan's state. That's why I say Taliban will announce a centralized government, a centralized powerful government, which is the only, as I think and I believe, the only way of a successful government in Afghanistan. They will not leave any islands of power inside Afghanistan. There will be exclusive government, but it will mean that people from different ethnicities, people from different political views and ideologies, we will see them in the government as technocrats, as holding briefcases of cabinet, different ministries. There will be faces like that, but the main power will be kept with Taliban. They will hold the main power and the critical briefcases even in the government with themselves. The military and the judiciary and the security forces will be under Taliban control in the near future.
And Professor, we know winter is coming, and the incoming government, whatever form it will be, must deal with this dire need of food and some other kind of aid in Afghanistan, but several nations and international institutions have cut off aid. How difficult will it be for the new government to deal with this?
Unfortunately, I have to agree that the dealing that Afghanistan people is facing after 20 years of the Western existence in Afghanistan now indicate that they were here in Afghanistan not for the people of Afghanistan. They were there for their own benefits. Because as soon as they have signed the deal with the Taliban, and Taliban took over after, and as a result of their deal in Doha, they have dealt with Taliban to hand over Afghanistan to them. They are cutting now international aids and humanitarian aids, and that's very amazing for me. For example, the World Bank says that they are going to cut aids because they are worried about human rights. They are going to cut humanitarian aids to ensure human rights in Afghanistan. That does not make any sense. But it shows that the only card of pressure, the only tool of pressure that now West has on Afghanistan or on Afghanistan's people or the government of Afghanistan, the future government of Afghanistan, is that tool of economic pressure. And they are unfortunately politicizing the humanitarian aid, which should not be like that, which should not be politicized and used for political matters, because cutting of humanitarian aids will definitely indirectly affect Afghanistan people, not the government. We have governments in the world that are facing sanctions, but they are still, they are fighting and they are standing and they are strong. Governments will not be affected. People will be affected, especially that we had reports from the UN that this year Afghanistan will face one of the worst droughts of Afghanistan in the history of this country. So cutting off humanitarian aids mean that they are being politicized, and they are using humanitarian aids, and they are putting Afghanistan's people's life on danger to gain a political advantage against the new government of Afghanistan, and that is very unhumanitarian.
Thank you very much, Professor Hamza Momen Hakimi in Kabul. The Taliban's leaders have promised to form an inclusive government, but some remain unconvinced, including the country's Hazara community. They've historically faced oppression and have been fleeing to Pakistan since the Taliban took control last month. Daniel Han looks at their concerns.
Most Hazaras are from the Shia sect of Islam, making them a minority in a predominantly Sunni Afghanistan. Sunni extremists like the Taliban and IS have long persecuted the Shia minority. With a population of over 6 million, Hazaras are the third largest ethnic group, which makes about 30% of Afghanistan's population.
Many Afghans, particularly the minority groups like the Hazaras, who have endured the worst of the Taliban's hardline policies in the past, are leaving their homes and entering Pakistan, saying they do not trust the Taliban's reassurances.
19 years old, Shahida says she escaped from Kabul just days before the city fell to the Taliban. A student of music at the Kabul University, she says her dreams have been shattered.
When Taliban came to Kabul, there was no hope to follow my dreams. They will not accept music in Afghanistan, and it was really bad for me, and I need help. It was killing my dreams.
As she shows us her video of playing guitar on a local Afghan television, her fears for her future are evident.
I want to go anywhere with my family to continue my lessons and be a good musician. I want to show that Afghan people are also normal people. They're not terrorists at all. I will really thank to everyone can help me.
Shahida's family is just one of hundreds that found refuge in a mosque in Quetta's Hazara town. Anahita, who wanted to become a doctor and help her community, now finds herself in a desperate cycle of uncertainty. When the Taliban came to power, they promised a general amnesty for all Afghan citizens and vowed not to target women and minorities. But Anahita does not believe the Taliban have changed.
No. As I have experienced, they just say that they don't kill anybody. They don't make violence, but they do. Their words are so different with their acts.
With the departure of the last foreign troops from Afghanistan, there is a huge fear within the Hazaras. They say once the focus of the international media goes away from Afghanistan, the Taliban might go back to their old ways and attack the minority group with impunity. Danial Khan, CGTN Quetta, Southwest Pakistan.